Well, Kanye.
Yes. Kanye
West,
Yay.
a.k.a. Ye. Right? Now, this was happening right before we started this interview. I showed you an interview clip where Kanye goes on Alex Jones. And when they brought up Hitler, he actually said he likes Hitler and started bringing up all the positive things that Hitler has done, like make microphones and roads and everything else like that. And he said he doesn't disagree with everything that Nazis do and so forth. So by the time this comes out, this is going to be all the way out there and so forth. When I showed you that video, what did you think?
I think he shouldn't have had the line down the middle of his stocking cap.
Right. He had a black stocking cap.
Right. I think it shouldn't have had a line down the middle. I also feel that he is going on and talking to people who may not have his best interest.
Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos.
He hasn't, and I want to interview him. So I'm going to say this now. I want to interview Kanye. As a black man, which one is my camera? Kanye, as a black man that knows how to interview, I want to interview you, right? And I want to hit you with a whole bunch of questions, and I want to find out exactly what you want the public to know. That's the first thing. Second thing, saying you like Hitler is not smart. This was not a man who was into the betterment of anybody but himself. This was...
Especially black people.
Like
black people were being thrown in the gas chambers along with the Jews and the gypsies and the homosexuals.
1.2 million black people died during the Holocaust.
Yes. Million.
Yeah. Germany had gone, just like Belgium, into Africa. Now, it's funny, you watch the Raiders of the Lost Ark and you realize when they're showing that, well, you can always do something showing that we're bettering or beating up on a Nazi. But the story is true. He literally was trying to find ancient artifacts and things to enhance his army to make him the ruler of the world, just like the pharaohs were. So he was seriously, constantly trying to find that. So to say that, I think Kanye said it to get a reaction, to get us to talk. I guess he's doubling down on the DEFCON 3.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding this chess move.
Right, and to be fair, and to be fair, because when we put this out there, and I talked about this in one of my interviews, I spoke to Charlemagne and Van Lathan.
Right.
They both told me, and this is something they've said publicly as well. Like Charlemagne told me that, well, first of all, it kind of centered around the TMZ interview, right? When he did the whole slavery was a choice thing, there was a whole thing where he was praising Hitler and so forth. Van Lathan said, who was right there, that he was doing all this stuff. And that part of the interview was cut out.
Because Harvey's smart.
Well, in exchange for an interview with Harvey. So shortly after.
Yeah, I knew it.
Shortly after that TMZ interview, when they cut that out, suddenly there's a sit-down interview with Harvey and Kanye. But also, Charlemagne said that in a phone call, Kanye was telling me how much he loved Hitler and loved the Nazis and everything else like that. And everyone, this kind of goes with a lawsuit that happened where he was saying, someone that worked for Yeezy or Adidas said that Kanye would constantly be bringing up Hitler and his love for Hitler and so forth. And social media said, oh, this is all bullshit. They're just trying to tear a black man down. He never said any of those things. Well, now he's on tape saying those things. So it just is what it is at this point.
Yeah, there's this trip. I got this huge book on Hitler. And I had this guy, I learned on this show too, not to give so much detail on people, but I met this guy who wrote a paper about Hitler's leadership. And the teacher was upset with him, but all his points were at that point. I go, you can pick other leaders who are better than Hitler. Like you don't have to delve into what he did. He was able to convince a majority of people that they were the chosen race and they were the Aryan and they were the strongest. What I'm just telling you with the Game of Thrones, we should be on the throne. Look what we've done. Look all over the world where we are. Like, it just, people who decide to choose that want to also, you can't get away from the part where he's a killer and he, what are the great things you're going to say? Oh, he made Volkswagen, right? And he decided everybody should have a car.
Yeah.
And like, enough.
The same reason why you were tearing down the statues of Robert E. Lee and so forth.
Should be.
Yes, I'm sure he had good leadership ability, but the leadership was poised to was tainted in order to try to keep slavery going.
Exactly.
So the direction of his leadership is putrid. So therefore, there should not be statues praising him. And no one should really praise someone like this.
No. And this is why I say, I sat there and I would wonder, man, and I know I'm going to get a response from this show. I want to interview Kanye. And I want Kanye.
Go for it.
I want Kanye to interview with me. And now,
and
the reason I do is everybody I see him interviewing doesn't look like him. And I think...
Hold on, let me think.
No, you can go
Well, he
down
did Drink
there.
Champs.
Huh?
He did Drink Champs.
And when he did Drink Champs, that was his best interview, getting to a point, and then like he had to apologize for Nori. He had to get to, but since then, he was like, I'm not getting any more black folks in trouble.
I actually would disagree with you. I actually think that was his worst interview simply because that was when he went in on the whole George Floyd thing and said how he actually died from fentanyl and how the cop's knee wasn't really on his neck and so forth. To me, I find that, and I've said this before, I find that more egregious than the Jewish comments. Because at the end of the day, you could talk shit about a group of Jewish people that you feel are holding you back or running the world or so forth. But you're talking about a specific person who the world got to see die in front of cameras.
Right.
And this man has children and this man has family and this created the biggest social uprising on earth. It went to trial. Derek Chauvin had the best lawyers that the police fund. He did not have a public defendant. He had a full-blown legal team that actually tried to defend him and say that it wasn't his fault, and a jury of his peers voted him guilty.
Right. So,
as well as the other cops that stood there complicit in this whole situation. So to say that this guy died of a drug overdose because you're hanging out with Candace Owens and she just put out a documentary that says that because she's pandering to racist white people was putrid to me. So I cannot say that was his best interview because
I think it was
that's
his
where
best
he
interview.
pulled that whole narrative.
I think it was his best interview. And I think when he came back and apologized for literally not thinking about saying, because he came back and said, I hurt people, but I was wrong. I think it being his best interview because it was the first time I saw him literally comfortable in conversation. And I think now with people around him, he has moved so far away from the talent we're used to seeing in Kanye to being something different. And I think he feels, just like in his song, that this is back to the point where his grandfather was doing the sit-ins and this is his chance to push forth the black movement. I'm telling you, with all of that strength and all of that, all of those accolades and him being able to be on platforms and when he says something, people listen, I think it's not thought all the way through. And I don't feel advisors or people around him is helping him say it. When you just say it, and wherever it may land, it lands. That's not how it works.